Hi, and welcome to It's the Hard Work, People, Passion, and Purpose podcast. And I'm your host, Dr. Terry Ross. This podcast is about people finding their passion and walking into their purpose. Our goal is to help people live the extraordinary life that they dream of. And today we have a guest with us, Dr. Sherman Green, Executive Life Coach and CEO of Strategic Directions. And he's going to talk with us on a subject that will help everyone live that extraordinary life that they dream of. Because one way that we live that extraordinary life is by creating a plan. And Dr. Green believes that by creating a career plan, whether it's short term or long term, you can accomplish your goals. Dr. Green, will you introduce yourself and tell us how did you become an executive life coach and how did you get to where you are now?
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you so much for inviting me to your show. I really appreciate it. So life coaching for me was something that really was kind of a natural, organic experience. I have been kind of doing it for a while. I have been working in higher education for almost 20 years, and in working in higher education, you're working with a lot of students on a lot of different levels, a lot of different socioeconomic backgrounds, and you're pushing them towards goals to complete their assignments, to
Yes.
complete, you know pushing forth on in the major that they're in, or anything, for that matter.
Yes.
And around 2017, I just started looking into, certifications and how to become a life coach, and just decided to go forth on a certification. And when I finished my program, I started to incorporate some of the things that I had been kind of learning in my program. And I would say the fascination of that, and just seeing the progress that I was seeing in my students, and the team that I was leading, because I was a director for a department in my last university where I worked. And so seeing all the progress that was being had under the scope of being a life coach,
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of made me want to do it on a larger scale. So I took a leap of faith, and what was it, July of 2018,
Mm-hmm.
quit my job. I did not have a job to go to.
Wow.
I started my own coaching business. So for the rest of that year, from 2018, so from August to December, and a little bit over into the new year of 2019, I started to craft my own life coaching business, which was the birth of Strategic Directions. I
Okay.
would say probably about April of that year, I started to, get contracts towards working in the coaching field, working with organizations and individuals. um, but I haven't looked back since that time. I now do still work within higher ed. I am an administrator for Western Governors University,
Okay.
working in the coaching capacity, but still coaching. I do it even now, like I said, with my team that I work with, and I also do it with my business strategic direction. So
Okay.
uh, it's been a great experience.
Well, congratulations, first of all, for having the courage to step out and say, I'm going to do this. And the fact that you've never looked back tells us that it's been successful. So we have a deep bow to you for having that type of courage and for the work that you're doing for people. Um, I'm an educator myself, and I've been a principal and a teacher. And a lot of what I do, I feel like I'm coaching even especially when I was in the high schools, the young people who were getting ready to really step into the world, but also some of the adults in the building you're coaching because you would have young teachers coming in. And not
Absolutely.
just coaching them around the work that they're doing, because when you're in environments such as education, those are intimate environments, and that's where you are learning and growing. So coaching is
Absolutely.
very important, and I think everyone needs a coach. If you're the smartest one in your group, I think Nipsey Hussle said you're no longer in a circle. If you're the smartest one in your circle, you're in a cage.
Right.
So you need
Yeah.
a coach to kind of help you get out of that. So we're going to talk about developing a career plan. What is a career development plan? What is that?
A career development plan is, simply put, it is a document that is pretty much solidifying what you are strategically going to be doing with your life and your career. Um, a lot of times people don't take the time to think about how to craft getting to where they want to go.
Yes.
This kind of gives them that stability, and it gives them that blueprint of how to go about doing it in a thoughtful, very strategic manner that is realistic and something that is crafted from yourself. So it's not coming from someone else, or, you know, coming from a place where, you know, you can hypothetically do this. No, 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 no. You are taking control of developing this thing so that it can be done in a way that you want it to be done strategically and systematically. And I just think that it's been a really good tool, a really good resource for a lot of the clients that I do work with that are looking to seek that change in a different career or just a change in general.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much for that. And I like that you said it's a strategic plan that you develop for yourself, because so often we leave things up to chance.
Yes,
I just recently had a conversation with my wife about that. We were talking, and oftentimes she'll tell me, "Well, you know, it's going to work out," and just kind of let it work out. And I recently said to her, "Well, we don't know if it's not going to work out, but if we take action, we can impact how it comes out." So
absolutely.
I don't necessarily believe in sitting and waiting for things to happen. I believe in taking action and taking control of some things. Now, yes, there are certain things that we have no control over that's going to happen. And we want those things to come to us from God and the universe or whatever you believe in. We want those things. But if you're not putting forth the action, if you're not moving in the direction of where you want to go, nothing will happen. So why do we need a career development plan?
Oh, so it really just helps you to have something that you can look at and you can agree with. Like, put it in this way: when you write something down, it has more resonance. Like when you
Yes.
are just thinking of stuff just haphazardly in the air, it's like, it can happen, it might not happen. But when you write it down, it's like you're writing a contract with
Yes.
yourself. You
Yes.
feel more like, okay, I have really made an agreement with myself to do this thing because I wrote it down. I can see it. I can go back. I can reference it. If I'm having a
Absolutely.
bad day, I can still go back and look at it because it hasn't changed. It's still the same. So I think that's the real reason that you need it. You need to have something that you can just physically see so that it can kind of serve as a mental contract or agreement that you've made with
Yes.
yourself because you wrote
Yes.
it. No one else
Yes.
wrote it but you. So yeah,
Absolutely. And you know, people say when you write it down, it happens.
it happens.
And
Yes.
I've started practicing journaling in a gratitude journal. And in that
Mm.
journals, I write, I'm thankful for things that has not happened yet.
Mhm, mhm.
You know, I'm
You're
always thankful for
manifesting.
my next podcast guest. So thank you,
Yeah.
you showed up.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be you, but I'm always thankful for the next guest. And
Absolutely.
so when I write it down, it does happen. And we should not leave things up for chance. And I say that since the pandemic, we're not in a space now of planning, we're in a space of doing.
That's
And
right.
so we have to plan in order to do, but when you put that plan down, it's time to take action.
It's time to take action. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And with saying that, what are the steps to developing a career development plan and what does it entail?
Oh, absolutely. So the development plan, the career development plan is comprised of a lot of things. It's comprised of your list of skills, your education, your experiences, things that you've encountered over the last few years, and just kind of creating some concrete plans for what your goals are career wise. So um, the first thing that I do ask for people to do is just kind of set some small task oriented goals. And so this is going to be you just creating tasks that are related to each item that gives you that type of affirmation of this is something that I can do now
Yes.
that I'm already in the role of doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that you can kind of you can base it on the time that it takes to get it done and give yourself kind of a time stamp of how fast you can kind of turn around with getting it done. And then you turn around and do this with the next step, which is organizing all of that with a timeline. So you're putting those tasks in kind of like a format that gives you like a timeline of how logical you can kind of set the trajectory for these goals. So let's say, well, I want to switch up my resume. The resume switch around needs to be kind of done at the very beginning of the process. So you put that there. After you do the resume, then that's when you can start applying for jobs that are kind of going towards the career that you want to start pursuing. The career development wants you to start with the resume to kind of switch up what you're doing. Of course, see somebody that you can trust to look at your resume and get some things kind of organized, and then you apply for the job that's the direction that you want to go, the trajectory that you're trying to go. Another example of this, because I do see this a lot. Um, if you wanted to read a book or something, you would you know you can read a book relatively fast. But if you're wanting to get something like a master's degree,
Hmm.
that's going to take more goals and
Yes.
more tasks to get that small thing done.
Yes.
So when you look at just the level of the goals, it kind of makes more sense as to how fast and how soon the timeline can be done, all the things can be implemented. The next step is the SMART goals, and we
Well,
kind of
let
talked
me
about
let
this.
me interject right there. So you
Okay,
said that they need to make a list of skills. When you said the list of skills, are those the skills that they have?
the skills that they have.
Okay. And so once they make that list of skills, you said uh look at what you can do right away. So like get a quick win.
And exactly, getting that quick
And I
win.
like that piece. I wanted to accentuate that because oftentimes when we're starting to look for work and make plans, we look at what we can't do more so than what we can do. And so you're telling them to look at what you do and what you do well,
That's
and
exactly
see
what I'm
what
doing.
can you apply that to accentuate your positive, because we
Accentuating
all
the
do
positive.
something very well.
Absolutely. And when that happens, it's kind of like an aha moment for the
Yes.
person. They're like, oh, I guess I could do that. Or I guess I can do that.
Yes.
And when they do that, it's kind of like exerting that confidence in them that, what they're wanting to do can be done. Because when you take those small wins, they build you up to those larger wins. And it just kind of spirals.
Absolutely.
I love how you pointed that out. That's exactly what the process is kind of formulating you to do.
Yes. Well, thank you for that. And those small tasks. And I like that you said set a timeline.
Hmm.
There's a quote out there that says, a goal without a plan is just a wish, and a plan without a date, I think, is just a hope. Something
Mm.
like that without a timeline is just a hope. And I'm somewhere in the ballpark with it. But even getting ready to do this podcast, I had to really like set small tasks, and I would get discouraged, but then I kept realizing that, okay, you're still moving toward the goal. You may not be moving at the pace that you want to, but you're still moving toward the goal. And in the process of doing that, then I had to, and when I first got started, I had to say, okay, now why am I doing this? What is my why? Am I just,
What was
is
your
this a
why?
fad? Is this just something that I want to
Exactly.
do? And what I realized as I really dug in and meditated on it, because I really did, because I didn't want to have my voice out here just because it was out here. And I
Right.
realized that I'm a teacher at heart. I majored
Yeah.
in education.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm always teaching something somewhere, and I was recently having a conversation with some family members and telling them that I love learning. And when I learn, I love to share what I learn.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, okay, everybody should learn how to do this. We all should learn how to invest. We all should learn how to eat this way. But that's not necessarily the case. And even
That's
though
the
I've been
educator
doing
in
this
you.
for over 20 years, I still kind
That's
of
the
get excited about teaching and learning.
that's the educator in you. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So back to the smart goals. You said the next step was for them to set.
Set those SMART goals. Right. So the SMART goals, of course, the S stands for SMART, the M measurable, A achievable, the R relevant, and the T is time bound, kind of going back to that timeline. And so that just kind of helps you to ensure that the things that you are doing are going to be done, um, can be done, they're tangible. things that are, preset by the increments of time, things that kind of excite you as well.
Yes.
Because when you get to that point of really getting to the granular details of that SMART goal, you're basically in the motion of those things.
Yes.
So for example, just thinking about something that is measurable. Let's take that for example, because measurable in my mind is something that you you've already kind of put yourself in a place to kind of figure out if it's something that can be uh, done, something that is kind of stood, something true, something stable. And
Yes.
when you start to ask yourself, like, is this something that I could really do based on what I already have?
Absolutely.
And if you can, of course, that's going to give you more confidence to see it through. And if it's not, it gives you an opportunity to rethink it and think of something that is much more doable for you in that instance.
And that
Um,
measurement also helps you to evaluate along the way.
oh,
You know,
absolutely.
can I see, am I making progress? You know,
Absolutely.
put no stamps
Absolutely.
on it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's also so important to do because in the process of this career development, it's not like a one size fits all or one time only type of thing. This is kind of an ongoing thing. So
Yes.
although you create it for one instance, the plan and the basis of it is to continue it like through your entire career because you're not going to want to stay in one career for one period of time. You're going to want to go up the chain of the ladder as it relates to different positions, or you may get another wind where you say, hey, I want to do something else. So you have
Absolutely.
a career development plan already put in place so that if you do want to change it up, you have the availability to go back, readjust some things and make it work. So that's the beauty of it as well. But
Absolutely.
just
And
getting back to the go
in
ahead.
education, we call it a cycle of continuous improvement, because
Ah,
you don't want to sit still. You just want to, what are we doing to get better? Like some people think happiness is this job where you
right.
never arrive at happiness. It's going to be a
Exactly.
cycle. Every time you
Yes.
get that thing you want, it's
Yeah.
something else there
Something else
that you're going
there.
to want. So that's why the happiness has to come from within, but you still want to set those goals because you got to be happy
Absolutely.
on the journey. So enjoying
Yes.
the journey and knowing that the plan is not going to work out perfectly, but you have a plan and you're
You
working on
have a
something.
plan. You work it exactly. I love that. And I guess that makes so much sense because in the grand scheme of things, you never want to just keep still. You want to continuously do something,
Yes,
but you wanted to, like you said, have that sense of happiness on the inside of what you're doing, because that's what really keeps you going. When you can find something that really keeps you happy, and it may not be forever, but when that happiness ends, I should say that, then you can always go and find something else. So I
yes,
love that.
yes.
I love that example.
Keep
Love it.
keep it moving. So once
Yeah.
they set the SMART goals, and that's being just very, very strategic and very specific about what it is you want and putting time stamps, what's the next move?
So after that, you're just basically creating those task deadlines. And so the best way to be accountable to the plan is just to assign specific dates that you want to do something. So you give yourself a start by. You're going to say, I start by X, Y, and Z. And after that point, you basically say, this is what I am committing to do. This is the motion that I'm planning on doing this very thing. And you actually actively access it. Now, when you've done that, you are at the place where your career development plan is done. But it seems simple in just talking about it, but the various steps that we just talked about can take very, very much a longer period of time to craft.
Absolutely. And the beauty of it is, though, as long as you're working on it and enjoying the journey, you will get there. You will get
Absolutely.
there. And what I'm hearing, Dr. Green, from you, you're talking, it's so difficult for so many people to be consistent,
Mm,
because you're talking about constantly doing, you're talking about action. And so we live, so many people don't like to live in the now, and that's where the work happens, in the now. Most people like to live in the past on,
Yes.
well, I shouldn't say most people. There are some people. I don't want to, this is not a podcast to convict people, but
Yes.
some people like living in the past
Hmm.
and shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Hmm.
And then some people live in the future.
Yeah.
And I might, where they really need to live in the now and being
Right.
consistent and working on something, because the now is what's going to impact the future.
Yeah.
And
So
there's
you
nothing
said
you can do about the past.
exactly. Exactly.
It's
Nothing
all,
can be
in
done.
fact, it doesn't exist. It's not even back there. I'm looking for it. There's nothing back there. It does not exist. It's
It
over.
doesn't exist.
Now the
It's
people
over.
gonna make you remember the past.
They sure will.
And the internet is not going to forget your past.
Right.
But it doesn't exist.
It doesn't
Seriously.
exist. Yeah,
Absolutely.
you said two things that I think are important to highlight, and it's kind of speaks to my role as a life coach. So when I'm doing this very thing, I'm kind of held as an accountability partner because what you said about consistency is
Yes.
100% true. There are a lot of people who have these hopes and dreams and they want to do these things, but when it comes to staying consistent and getting it done, they don't do it. So
Absolutely.
for me, being a life coach, that's kind of where I kind of stand in this whole process to keep them accountable to making sure that they do this thing that they have said that they want to do. And it's not me, it's what they want to do. But I have to
Yes.
serve as that accountability coach to get them to be where they want to be and to do what they said that they want to do. And also with this, with those individuals who do live in the past and they do exist, it is my job to keep them focused on the now and keeping them focused on the now so that they can not worry, so they can also focus on the future.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's what we do in life coaching. It's all about where you are now and where you want to go, not about where you were and what you used to do, because that doesn't matter.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Green, if someone wanted to contact you for some life coaching services, what would that look like and what would they need to do?
Absolutely. So I have a free 30-minute consultation where I pretty much just ask and just kind of probe some questions as to why they were wanting to have a life coach. Because a lot of times some people will confuse life coaching with counseling. Not the same. Coaching is, like I said, in the now, moving forward. Counseling is about the past. I don't deal with the past.
You're
So
not going to counsel. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not going to counsel. I'm not going to do that. But if they want to sign up for their free consult, you can go to my website, drsgreen.com, and
Okay.
you can schedule a time that fits for you. I have a calendar and dates and times, all that good stuff. You just kind of fill out the information, and we can talk
Okay.
about how that process works.
Okay. And give us that website again.
Absolutely. drsgreen.com.
drsgreen.com. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Green. Now, one last thing. So they've set the SMART goals. They're putting the actions in place. What else do they need to do?
At that point, they've made their accomplishment, but they also need to kind of also re-examine the development plan here and there because there will be some, like I said, some highlights in their career. They may have advanced to the point where they're going to be considered for a promotion. They
Yes.
need to go back and look at that development plan to see, does this line up to where they want it to go or does it not? It really can serve as just that reference point to always look at and to consider whenever you have any upcoming changes in your life. So I think after that point, when they've gotten to the point of completing it, they've gotten to the place, just revisit it every now and then. Because like I said, you'll either get tempted with another job or a promotion or wanting to change your career altogether. But this career development plan that you've put so much time and effort into is going to help you stay aligned to the goals that you set for yourself at one point in time, so that you can use that same material and shift it to where you want to go next.
Okay. What strategy would you give advice for someone to use to get started? A strategy that they can use to like put themselves in the state of mind to get ready to even start writing down the plan.
Hmm. So there's a bit of philosophy that I use every now and then whenever I have individuals who just claim that they just can't get started. Um, we sometimes as humans procrastinate
Mm-hmm.
because the very thing that we are wanting to do, we have a fear behind.
Fear.
Procrastination is really just the fear of doing something because you're afraid of whatever consequences may come, good or bad. You're afraid. The best way to just start is just give yourself 5 minutes to start writing something. Because statistically, if you give yourself 5 minutes to do something, you're going to do much more than just that. So the best way to get started is just to give yourself 5 minutes. Just say, I'm going to do this one thing for 5 minutes. This one thing for 5 minutes. And guaranteed you're going to give more than that 5 minutes. And if you don't have the instinct of starting that 5 minutes, get somebody in your life to hold you accountable to doing something related to what you said that you wanted to do. Get a trusted friend, get that solid transformational friend that is always filling you up and helping you and inspiring you. Get them to serve as an accountability partner or get a life coach such as me and
Yes.
get them to just hold you accountable to starting at least for 5 minutes. And statistically, you will go much further than that. I think that's the most simplistic thing, most simplistic strategy to just starting.
Well, thank you for that strategy to give yourself 5 minutes. And I think they should start with just writing down those list of skills, the things that they can do. Well, I can type. I know how to do lawn work. Whatever it is that you know how to do, write it
Mm-hmm.
down and then align yourself with careers that can do that. Or better yet, become an entrepreneur and just go do those things.
Oh, that's always the best way to do it. Just do
Absolutely.
it for yourself.
People don't know how many folk out there that's paying for their homes to be clean. How many
Mm.
people that need someone to cut their yards for them, mow
Mm-hmm.
their lawns, things like that. So it's a whole lot out there that we can do. We just have to look at what we're good at and go from there.
Absolutely.
But Dr. Green, would you like to have any parting words with my audience today?
Just if you are wanting to make that change, please just put forth the effort to doing it. And I think everyone has talents, skills, and strengths that we could all be tapped into and taking ourselves to a whole new level. Don't settle for the bare basics when you know that there's more out there for you. You know, we
Yes.
live in a big world filled with tremendous blessings and talents and skills and everything. And we need you out here to do that very thing. And you need to do it too, just as a person. I think we all deserve to have that self fulfillment in what we do. And if you feel like you are not doing that, then you need to find a way to tap into your potential.
That was very profound. Thank you so much. I feel like you were talking to me. Hey, don't be basic. If you don't have to, it's nothing wrong with basic. It's nothing wrong.
It's nothing wrong
But
with
if you
basic.
don't have to be, don't be.
Don't
Live
be.
that extraordinary life. And that's what this podcast is about, living the extraordinary life that we dream of because we all have it inside of us. So, Dr. Green, thank you so much for joining us this evening on this The Hard Work, People, Passion, and Purpose podcast. And I want to thank you all for listening. Please like, subscribe, and follow to It's the Hard Work, People, Passion, and Purpose podcast. And also remember to enjoy the journey because someone wishes they were in your shoes. Thank you.